I died on a rainy Tuesday in October, my blood mixing with the puddle under the Brooklyn Bridge. The note in my pocket screaming, "Unstable wife," to anyone who found me. My mother-in-law, Evelyn Harrington, had whispered those final words into my ear just hours before. "You'll never belong, Addison," as she slipped the pills into my wine, her manicured nails glinting like knives. But death wasn't the end. It was a goddamn reset button. And as my eyes snapped open in the mirror of my cramped Manhattan apartment, 25 years old again, staring at the engagement ring I'd once cherished, I knew, this time, I'd bury them all. The world hadn't changed much in the 5 years since my suicide. Hell, it was only 2 weeks before my wedding to Marcus Harrington in my reborn timeline, but the ghosts were already clawing at me. New York still hummed with that relentless energy. Yellow cabs honking through the drizzle on Fifth Avenue, the scent of street vendors' pretzels cutting through the exhaust. I was Addison Hale again. Not yet Harrington, a junior editor at a mid-tier publishing house scraping by on ramen and dreams of literary glory. But I remembered everything, the lavish wedding that turned into a cage, the way Evelyn's society smiles hit her venom, how Marcus's charm curdled into indifference once the prenup locked me in. That first morning back, I vomited into the sink. Not from morning sickness, God. No. That lie had sealed my fate last time, but from the sheer vertigo of it all. Rebirth.
重生
As some old Vietnamese folktale my mom used to whisper might call it. But this was America. Baby, second chances wrapped in therapy bills and self-help podcasts. I gripped the porcelain, my knuckles white, and laughed, a jagged, ugly sound that echoed off the subway-tiled walls. Evelyn thought she'd won by gaslighting me into oblivion, framing my mental breakdowns as the reason I'd jump. But she'd overlooked one thing. The Harringtons' empire was built on rot. A World War II-era art heist their great-grandfather pulled off in Europe, fencing stolen Jewish heirlooms to fund their old money facade. I'd found the proof last time. Too late. In a dusty attic trunk during a family bonding weekend at their Hamptons estate.
Now,
I'd unearth it early. I'd make them choke on their caviar. I called out sick from work, my voice steady for the first time in years. The apartment was a time capsule, dog-eared copies of Fitzgerald and Salinger on the nightstand, a half-dead ficus by the fire escape window, the fridge stocked with that Go-Doffel-Kale smoothie mix Marcus hated. I pulled on my thrift store trench coat, practical, unassuming, and headed to the Diamond District, where pawnshops huddled like secrets in Midtown. Last life. I'd pawned my grandmother's locket for rent money after Marcus cut me off. This time, I'd weaponize it. The locket wasn't much to look at. Tarnished silver, oval-shaped, with a faint inscription in faded script.
for E. From A.
Forever. My great-grandmother Elise had given it to her sister Astrid during the war. A smuggling token across the Atlantic when Nazis looted their family's gallery in Amsterdam. It had ended up in Harrington hands, stolen. Of course, passed down as family antique until Evelyn hawked it for cash during a bad stock dip in the 90s. I'd recognized it in a photo album once. The pieces clicking like a bad thriller plot.
Now,
With my foreknowledge, I'd find it at a flea market, play the wide-eyed bride-to-be, and drop it like a bomb at the engagement dinner. The vendor in the back alley stall barely glanced up from his crossword. $10. Take it or leave it. I handed over the cash, heart pounding as the chain slipped cool against my palm. It felt heavier now, laced with the weight of lives upended. On the walk home, I dodged tourists snapping selfies at the Flatiron, my mind racing through the playbook. Step 1. Charm Marcus harder. Make him doubt his family's whispers. Step 2. Infiltrate the Hamptons estate. Snoop without suspicion. Step 3. The gift. They'd mock it, oh. They would. With their snide asides about my thrift shop aesthetic, but when the appraiser cracked it open, game over. That night, Marcus texted, "Can't wait for dinner tomorrow.
Babe.
Mom's making her famous roast." I stared at the screen, bile rising. Last time. That dinner had been the first crack, Evelyn cornering me in the kitchen, hissing about how I'd never measure up to their bloodline. Marcus, oblivious, laughing along with his sister Lila's jabs. This time, I'd smile through it, plant the seeds. I met him at the restaurant, a cozy Italian spot in the village, all exposed brick and candlelight. Marcus Harrington, tall, broad-shouldered, with that trust fund glow and eyes like polished oak. He kissed me like I was his salvation, pulling out my chair with effortless grace. "You look stunning,
Addie."
that dress, vintage." "Guilty," I said, forcing a laugh as I smoothed the floral midi from a Brooklyn consignment shop. We ordered Chianti and carbonara, his hand warm on mine across the linen. He talked about the firm, Harrington and Associates, white-collar law defending blue-chip clients, and I nodded, remembering how he defended them when the accusations flew. "Family's everything," he'd say, even as they dismantled mine. As dessert arrived, tiramisu dusted with cocoa, he leaned in, voice dropping. "Mom's excited to meet you properly. Lila too. They've been protective since Dad died. Protective. Code for gatekeeping their tainted legacy." I squeezed his hand, channeling the girl I'd been before the betrayal. "I can't wait. They're your world," he beamed, clueless. But as we walked arm in arm through Washington Square Park, leaves crunching underfoot, I spotted the shadow, a sleek black SUV idling across the street. Evelyn's driver. No doubt. Tailing like it was 1940s noir. She was already sniffing around.
Good.
Let her come. The engagement dinner was at the Harrington penthouse on Park Avenue, a sprawling area of marble floors and Warhol prints that screamed, "We own this city." I arrived early, locket tucked in my clutch, nerves buzzing like live wires. Marcus buzzed me up, his tie loosened, a scotch in hand. "You made it." Traffic was a bitch. Worse than a Hemingway deadline, I quipped, slipping off my heels in the foyer. The place reeked of old money, crystal decanters on mahogany sideboards, a grand piano no one played. Evelyn swept in then. All Chanel no. 5 and pearl earrings, her silver bob impeccable. Addison. Darling. The hug was perfunctory, her grip like a vice. "Marcus raves about you." "Likewise," I lied, inhaling her perfume, same as the night she dosed my drink. Lila followed, 22 and feral in a red sheath dress, her laugh like breaking glass. "Sistaby. Love the coat." "Is that Target?" "Thrifted," I said evenly, hanging it up. She smirked, exchanging a glance with Evelyn. The table was set for 6. Them. Marcus. His Uncle Victor, the family fixer. And Aunt Clara, a chain-smoking widow with a perm from the 80s. Dinner unfolded like a well-rehearsed play. Roast beef carved tableside. Asparagus hollandaise. A 98 Bordeaux that cost more than my rent. Conversation flowed, Victor droning about tax loopholes, Clara gossiping about the Met Gala. I played my part, the eager outsider, asking about family lore. How do you all get into law? Anyway? Sounds so noble. Evelyn's fork paused midair.
Oh,
It's the Harrington way. My father-in-law built it from nothing after the war. Smarts and grit.
grit.
Stolen silver and forged provenance papers.
More like.
I nodded, sipping wine, the locket burning a hole in my bag. As plates cleared, Lila leaned in, eyes gleaming. So, Addison, what's your gift to the family, besides Marcus? I mean, snickers rippled. Marcus shot her a look, but Evelyn chimed in, voice honeyed poison. Yes,
Dear.
we Harringtons adore traditions. Heirlooms, preferably. This was it. Heart slamming, I pulled out the locket, letting it dangle from its chain like a noose. It's not much, just something I found at a market. Felt right for the family album. I handed it to Marcus, who turned it over, brow furrowing. Cute, Lila drawled, snatching it. Vintage? Or just vintage looking? She popped it open, peering at the inscription. For E.
From A.
Forever. How sentimental. What's it worth? A subway token. Laughter erupted, Victor wheezing, Clara cackling into her napkin. Evelyn's smile tightened, but she joined in. But then my hunt. Darling, it's the thought. We all start somewhere. Marcus handed it back, apologetic. It's sweet.
Addie.
Really? But his eyes flicked to Evelyn, that old deference kicking in. I swallowed rage, tasting copper. Actually, I had it appraised downtown. Thought it'd be fun to know. Lies, they'd never let it go now. The guy's coming by tomorrow. Expert from Sotheby's. More chuckles, but Evelyn's gaze sharpened. How quaint.
Well.
Surprise us. I left that night with Marcus's kiss on my cheek, the mockery echoing in my skull. But as the elevator descended, I whispered to the locket, not quaint, Evelyn. Lethal. The next morning dawned gray and unforgiving, rain lashing the penthouse windows like accusations. I woke in Marcus's guest room, insisted on separate beds pre-wedding. A boundary I'd set early this time, my body coiled tight, replaying the dinner in Technicolor cruelty. Lila's laugh. Evelyn's condescension, it was all prelude, the same script that had led to my unraveling last life. But knowledge was my armor now. I'd rewrite the ending. Over coffee in the sunroom, Marcus scrolled his phone, oblivious. Last night was great, right? Mom can be intense, but she likes you. Likes me. Like a cat toying with a half-dead mouse. I stirred my mug, black and bitter, forcing brightness. She's a force.
Hey.
About the appraiser. Mind if I swing by later? Don't want to miss the show. He grinned, pecking my forehead. Go for it. I'll be in depositions till 6.
Perfect.
Alone time with the Vipers. I dress sharp, slim black pants, silk blouse from Unicus, professional, not pleading. The appraiser was my plant, Tommy Ruiz, a former colleague from the publishing house who'd gone into antiquities after a messy divorce. I'd called him at dawn, voice laced with feigned excitement. It's a locket, Tommy. Family piece. Make it dramatic. He owed me, last life. I'd covered his shifts during rehab.
Now, payback.
With interest. The Harringtons were mid-brunch when I arrived, croissants flaking onto linen. The post spread open to society pages. Victor nursed a Bloody Mary. Clara puffed a Virginia Slim out the balcony door. Evelyn spotted me first, waving me over with manicured dismissal. Addison, eager beaver. The expert's not here yet. Running late, I said, sliding into a seat. Lila lounged opposite, scrolling TikTok, her nails tapping the table like Morse code for intruder. So, this flea market find. What's the big reveal? It's not cursed, is it? I met her eyes, unflinching. Wouldn't that be poetic? Cursed heirlooms for a cursed family. The words hung, too sharp. Marcus wasn't there to buffer. But Victor coughed into his fist, and Evelyn's smile froze. Charming, she said, slicing a grapefruit with surgical precision. Tell us about your side.
Dear.
Hail family treasures? Coal mines in Pennsylvania? Florists in Queens, I corrected, voice light. Mom's shop. Hale's blooms, roses, and regrets. Shuddered after my death when the scandal hit. Simple folk. But this locket. It has history. I dangled it again, chain whispering against the crystal vase. They leaned in despite themselves, drawn to the bait. Clara exhaled smoke, squinting. Looks European. My gran had something similar, lost in the war. Poor thing. War stories, Victor grunted, loosening his tie. Ours are all valor. Grandpa Harrington smuggled intel for the Allies. You know. Hero shit.
Hero.
Thief.
More like.
I dug up the files last life. Cross-referenced with Interpol leaks. Elias Harrington, posing as a liberator, pocketing gold watches and cameos from liberated homes. The locket? Snatched from a Dutch resistance safe house. Engraved for Elise Vandermeer, my great-grandmother's cousin. Vanished in 44. Evelyn had sold it quietly, but the provenance trailed like smoke. The doorman buzzed. Tommy. Right on cue. He entered like he owned the place, 50s. Salt and pepper beard. Tweed jacket screaming Ivy League dropout. Mr. and Mrs. Harrington? Pleasure. Tommy Ruiz. Antiquities consultant. Handshakes all around. Evelyn's lingering assessingly. We gathered in the library, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. A Persian rug that probably funded a small genocide. Tommy sat up on the leather-topped desk, looped to his eye, the locket under a swing-arm lamp. Tension thickened the air. Lila chewed her cuticle. Victor poured scotches at 10 a.m. Silver. Sterling. Early 20th century. Tommy began. Voice professorial. Catch is original. Hinge tight. Inscription. For E.
From A.
Forever. Romantic. But let's check the mark. He angled it. Light catching the hallmarks. Gasps rippled. Evelyn's hand flew to her throat. Wait, Lila breathed.
That's
familiar. Tommy nodded, straight-faced.
Ah, yes.
This is a Vandermeer piece. Dutch Jewish provenance. Smuggled during the occupation. Worth, conservatively, 150 grand at auction. But the real kicker, he popped the clasp, revealing the hidden compartment. A tiny vellum slip, yellowed, unfolded like Judgment Day. I held my breath, feigning awe. The paper bore a scrawled note in faded ink. Elias, return to A. Vandermeer, or God sees all.
E. Elias.
Grandpa Harrington.
And E.
Elise. My blood. Evelyn's face drained to ash. Impossible.
That's
A reproduction. Tommy raised a brow. Hallmarks don't lie.
ma'am.
This surfaced in a Brooklyn estate sale last month. Your appraiser here snagged it. He nodded at me, and I played innocent. Lucky find, right? Victor slammed his glass down. What the hell is this? Some setup. Clara stubbed out her cigarette, eyes wide. Elias. He did mention a war debt once. Said it haunted him. Lila wheeled on Evelyn. Mom, you sold this? For what? The 92 expansion. Evelyn stood, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard.
Lies.
All of it. Addison, where did you really get this? The room spun into chaos, accusations flying, scotch spilling. I sat serene, the avenger in plain sight. But this was just the appetizer. The real feast? Exposing how that war debt funded the firm, laundered through decades of dirty deals. Marcus would walk in soon, and I'd watch his world crack. As they tore into each other, I slipped to the balcony. Rain-misted city sprawling below. Freedom tasted like ozone. But revenge? It itched deeper, demanding more. The fallout hit like a nor'easter. Winds howling through the Harrington's carefully curated calm. By evening, Marcus stormed into the penthouse. Ty Askew. Face thunderous from the frantic texts Lila had fired off mid-meltdown. I was waiting in the foyer, locket back in my clutch, composing an email to a contact at the Times, anonymous tip on Harrington provenance, with photos attached. What the fuck? Addie. He grabbed my arms. Not hard, but urgent. Mom's calling it extortion. Victor's lawyering up. That thing, it's theirs? I twisted free gently, meeting his gaze, hurt puppy dog eyes. The ones that had reeled me in last life. Yours, Marcus. I bought it fair and square. If it's tied to your family. I trailed off, letting implication do the work. He raked a hand through his hair, pacing the Persian runner. Grandpa's stories, always vague. Opportunist in chaos, he'd say. But this? Stolen? Jesus. The word hung, profane in their sanctified space. Evelyn emerged then, silk kimono draped like a shroud, eyes red-rimmed but sharp. Marcus. Darling. Don't listen. She glided over, hand on his shoulder, proprietary, maternal poison. This girl's playing us.
Flea market my ass.
She's after the settlement. Settlement. I echoed. Voice steel. For what? Your son proposing? Or the 94 sale that tanked my Greytance claim? I'd fabricated that link loosely, enough to sting, rooted in truth. Elise's descendants had sued once, dismissed as cranks. Marcus faltered. Mom, Evelyn's lips thinned. Business. Marcus. Wartime necessities. We compensated, quietly. Compensated. I spat, stepping forward. Controversial? Hell yes, calling out blood money in mixed company. Risking the man I loved or thought I did. But love was a luxury, survival wasn't. With hush money and NDAs, while my family mourned ghosts, the elevator dinged, Lila and Victor. Faces grim. Cops. Lila demanded, clutching her phone. Or PI first? No cops. Victor barked, loosening his cufflinks. This stays in-house. Addison. Name your price. I laughed. Low and genuine. Price? For truth? Try $0. But if you want the original manifest, the one listing your grandpa's acquisitions, that's public record now. I emailed the Holocaust Museum this morning. Courtesy copy to DOJ.
Bluff.
Half bluff. Tommy had the scans. I'd forward later. But the threat landed like a gut punch. Evelyn swayed, clutching the banister. You wouldn't. You're one of us. One of you. Rage boiled over. Hot and unfiltered. I was your scapegoat. The crazy wife who jumped because she couldn't hack it. Gaslit. Drugged. Discarded. The words tumbled. Last life's horrors spilling in this one's light. Marcus gaped. Lila paled. Drugged, he whispered. Evelyn recovered. Venom rising. Hysteria. You were unstable. Addison. Marcus deserved better. Better like Lila? I shot back. Eyes on her. The sister who'd warmed his bed during my episodes, covered by family loyalty. Gasps echoed. Lila flushed crimson. You bitch, she hissed. That was one time. Enough, Marcus roared. The Harrington air finally cracking. He turned to Evelyn, voice breaking. Did you? With the pills? Silence. Thicker than fog off the East River. Evelyn's chin lifted. For the family. She was unraveling everything. I watched him shatter. The boy I'd married. The man I died for. Controversial decision number 2. Let him burn with them. Or pull him free. My heart twisted. But the mirror from that first reborn morning flashed, ring glinting. Promise poisoned. Choose. Marcus.
Them.
Or us. He stared.
Torn.
Addie. I need time.
Time.
The one thing death had stolen. I nodded, grabbing my coat. Take it. But the appraiser's report hit Sotheby's auction block next week. With full disclosure, the door clicked shut behind me, the hallways stretching endless. Rain slicked the streets as I hailed a cab to Queens, Mom's old shop, now a nail salon, but the apartment above still smelled of peonies. I curled on the sagging couch, locket in hand, tears hot. Revenge tasted like ash. Was this catharsis or just trading one cage for another? Days blurred into a media shitstorm. TMZ picked it up first. Harrington heirloom or Holocaust heist? Then the Times, with my anonymous leaks feeding the fire. Stock in Harrington and Associates dipped 12%. Victor scrambled with pressers. Evelyn lawyered into seclusion. Marcus called once. Voicemail slurred. I believe you. Come home. Home. The word mocked. I ghosted him, diving into work, pushing a manuscript on wartime art theft. Ironic fuel. Tommy texted updates, bids rolling in. Your cut. Donate it, I replied. To survivors. Nights. I prowled the city, jazz dives in the village, falafel trucks in Astoria, reclaiming the life they'd stolen. But shadows lingered, Evelyn's private eye tailing me to a coffee shop, Lila's Instagram subtweets about gold-digging ghosts. They weren't done. The climax brewed at the Hamptons estate, Labor Day bash. Black tie under the stars. Their desperate bid to spin the narrative. Invite arrived via courier. Gilt-edged. Family reconciliation. I almost burned it. But the twist called. End it there. Where last life's attic trunk had whispered truths. I drove out in a rented Mustang, red. Reckless. Wind whipping my hair. Playlist blasting Springsteen. The compound loomed. Shingled mansion on dunes. Lanterns flickering like fireflies. Valets. Champagne flutes. Guests in seersucker oblivious to the rot. Marcus spotted me first. Across the lawn. Tux rumpled. Drink in hand. Addie. He crossed.
Desperate.
You came. Closure, I said, accepting a flute. Evelyn hovered nearby. Diamonds winking. Lila glued to a hedge funder. Victor glad-handed senators. Damage control incarnate. We danced slow, aching to some big band cover. His hands tentative on my waist. I confronted her. The pills. It's true. I'm done with them. My pulse spiked. Twist 1. Redemption? But his eyes darted. Guilt. Or rehearsal. Prove it.
Now.
He pulled a USB from his pocket. Firm servers. Full manifests. Elias's ledgers. I wiped the clean versions. I pocketed it. Heart fracturing. Maybe he was salvageable. We slipped away as fireworks cracked overhead, seeking the attic, dusty eaves under rafters, trunks like coffins. There, amid mothballs, the motherlode, not just the trunk, but Evelyn's hidden safe, ajar in panic. Documents spilled, deeds, photos, a yellowed letter from Astrid Vandermeer, pleading return. And below, a bundle of letters, tied with faded ribbon. Marcus's handwriting?
No, mine.
From last life. Forged suicide notes Evelyn had planted. You kept these? I whispered, rage reigniting. He flushed. Found them after. Mom said. Glass shattered below, shouts. Sirens. The party crashed. Feds. Tipped by my DOJ forward. Victor in cuffs. Lila screaming. Evelyn center stage. Unbowed. In the chaos, Marcus grabbed my arm. Run with me. Decision 3. Controversial as hell. Flee with the compromised Harrington. Or stand and watch the empire crumble. I yanked free.
No.
This ends clean. As agents swarmed, I descended, locket raised like a talisman. Evelyn locked eyes.
Defeated.
You win, Addison. Not win, I said, voice carrying over the din. Justice. Sirens wailed into the salty Hamptons night, red and blue strobes painting the dunes in erratic pulses, turning the Harrington soiree into a crime scene circus. Guests scattered like roaches, senators ducking behind topiaries. Socialites clutching pearls as zip ties clicked on Victor's wrists. Evelyn stood frozen amid the fray, her gown a sodden flag of surrender, while Lila wailed into a bystander's shoulder. Mascara rivers down her cheeks. Marcus hovered at my side, USB burning a hole in my pocket, his face a mask of fractured loyalty, half the man I'd loved, half the pawn I'd pitted. Feds, he rasped, voice lost in the din.
How?
My tip, I admitted. No sugarcoating. The DOJ email. Time-stamped yesterday. With Tommy's scans attached. Controversial? Leaking to Fed's mid-reconciliation gambit, yeah. It skirted vigilante lines. But in America's justice for sale circus, who else would bite? They moved fast. Money laundering's a bitch when provenance hits the fan. He recoiled, eyes searching mine. You planned this. All of it, the locket, the dinner. From the jump, I said, unapologetic. The attic safe yawned behind us, spilling its guts, ledgers yellowed with age. Photos of Elias in GI fatigues pocketing a Star of David brooch. Letters from spurned claimants like my great-aunt. I'd known it was here, last life. I'd cracked it post-breakdown, only for Evelyn to catch me.
Spin it as theft.
This time, I'd led them to slaughter. Agents swarmed the stairs, badges flashing. Addison Hale? Statement. Right here. I handed over the locket, chain glinting under flashlights. Exhibit A. Stolen 44. Fenced 45. Funded this. A sweep encompassed the estate, the infinity pool lapping at infinity edges. The guest house where Lila had hosted her girls' weekends with Marcus. Evelyn lunged then, nails raking air. Lies. She's the thief, framed us. A Fed, burly. No nonsense, cuffed her gently but firm.
Ma'am.
We've got manifests. Wire transfers to Swiss accounts. Save it for the judge. Marcus stepped forward, voice cracking. Officers, I'm Harrington. This is my family. Cooperating witness? The lead agent eyed him, pen poised. Twist 2, his choice. Live or sink.
He swallowed, nodding.
Everything. Full access. Evelyn's scream pierced, raw. Maternal fury. Traitor. After all we've done. I cut in, stepping close. Our faces inches apart in the spotlight glare. Like dosing my wine? Whispering I was worthless till I believed it. You killed me. Evelyn. Slow, then fast. The confession spilled. First-person exorcism. Agents pausing mid-note. Marcus blanched, Lila retched into hydrangeas. She spat. Defiant. Hysteria. You were weak. Weak. Laughter bubbled. Bitter as bile. I edited bestsellers by 23. Built a life from Queen's dirt. You? Parasite on stolen bones. Flashbulbs popped, paparazzi breaching the gates. Drones humming overhead. New York Post headline fodder. Heiress haunts Harringtons. War loot legacy crumbles. They hauled her away. Victor cursing blue streaks. Clara chain-smoking on the lawn in stunned silence. Marcus turned to me, shattered.
Addie.
What now?
Now.
Dawn crept over the Atlantic, gulls wheeling like judges. You rebuild.
Clean.
Without them. I pressed the USB back into his palm, his get-out-of-jail-free. If he played straight. Controversial mercy. Sparing the one thread of good in their tapestry. He nodded, tears streaking, and I walked away, heels sinking in dew-kissed grass, the estate shrinking in my rear view. Back in the city, the world tilted toward normalcy, queerly, mercifully. Mom's old apartment became mine again. I sublet the Manhattan walk-up, trading skyline views for subway rumbles and corner bodegas. Work exploded. My boss, sniffing Pulitzer bait, greenlit the art theft manuscript as a lead title. Hale. You're a goddamn oracle, he barked over Zoom. Cigar smoke haloing his Brooklyn growl. Interviews trickled in, NPR's Fresh Voice segment. A Vanity Fair profile framing me as the reborn restitution queen. I dodged the rebirth angle. Of course, stuck to hunches and hard digs, but the irony simmered. Trung Sin wasn't folklore, it was grit. American style. Die once. Hustle twice. Marcus surfaced a month later. Coffee in hand at a Soho cafe, neutral ground. His text read. Leaner. Shadows under his eyes. But that oak-warm smile flickering. Divorce papers signed. Firms folding, rebranding as pro bono restitution. I sipped my flat white. Guarded. Good. The locket sold for $180K. Went to the Van der Meer Fund. He nodded, fingers drumming the saucer. I kept the Hamptons place. Thought. Maybe lease it to you? No strings. Laughter escaped. Genuine this time. Strings were always your problem, Marcus. But his eyes, vulnerable. On Harrington, tugged. Decision 4. The biggest controversy. Forgive or ghost. We talked till closing, his therapy confessions, my unpublished drafts of last life journals, coded as fiction. He admitted the affair. Lila cornered me during your illness. Mom orchestrated the cover. Betrayal layered. But his remorse rang true. As dusk fell, sodium lamps buzzing alive.
He leaned in.
Second chance. I paused. Locket's ghost warm against my chest. I'd kept a replica. Inscription etched inward. Maybe. But slow. No empires. Life unspooled from there. Tentative as spring thaw. We dated. Awkward brunches at Sarah Beth's. Walks in Prospect Park dodging joggers. The scandal faded to footnote. Harringtons pleaded out. Restitution checks mailed to survivors. Evelyn in a cushy, white-collar suite upstate. Penning memoirs no one would touch. Lila vanished to Bali. Influencer dreams dashed. Victor disbarred. Hawking real estate in Jersey. My book dropped fall 26, Shadows and Silver. The Looted Legacy, topping charts. Oprah's book club nod sealing the deal. Mom would have beamed. I scattered petals at her grave in Calvary. Queens. Whispering. We got 'em.
Ma.
But the twist lingered. Sharp as a hidden hinge. Late one night. Scrolling case files Marcus shared. Transparency clause in our fragile pact. I found it, a redacted memo. Elias's hand. Not just thief, but informant. Turned Dutch resistance for Uncle Sam. But skimmed the take. The locket?
Bait.
Meant for return. Buried in family lore. And me? Reborn not by fate, but glitch, a near death from a bad oyster pre-wedding last life. Misremembered as full stop. Hypoxia hallucination? Or miracle?
Didn't matter.
I'd seized it. Turned poison to power. Marcus proposed again. 6 months in simple band. Central Park bench. Rain misted like that reborn dawn. No prenup. No ghosts. I said yes. Locket dangling between us. But as we kissed, city thrumming eternal, I pocketed one truth. Revenge wasn't silencing them.
It was me.
Finally heard. In the end, happy?
Beakik.
America's messy blend, triumph laced with scars. Second act scripted in blood and ink. We drove to the bridge that night. Not for endings, but beginnings. Tossed pebbles into the dark water. Ripples fading like old sins. The Harringtons? Silenced. Yes. But Addison Hale? Roaring.